With Aston Martin's incredible turnaround in F1 and the arrival of Fernando Alonso, it's led to inevitable questions. Could Fernando Alonso win a Grand Prix again after a over 10-year absence from the top step of the podium? So let's get us thinking. With Fernando Alonso being at the grand old age he is, who are the 10 oldest F1 race winners? And starting off with number 10 is REGAZZONI at the 1979 British Grand Prix at 39 years, 10 months and 9 days. He took the last of his 5 F1 wins at this race. He was born 11 years before the first F1 race, and he would be 31 before he stepped into an F1 car, doing so in 1970 with Ferrari. He won his first race with the team at Monza with 1 or 2 victories in his Italian heartland. He briefly left the team in 1973, but was back at Ferrari a year later before departing for the last time in 79. In the later years, he raced Shadow Racing cars and then Williams, where he won his final race at Silverstone. But moving on to number 9, that's Graham Hill at the 1969 Monaco Grand Prix at 40 years, 3 months and 3 days. A legendary figure, the only man to complete a triple can, and before Ayrton Senna, Hill had won the most races in Monte Carlo, a record 5, and he made his first ever F1 appearance around the famous city streets. It seems rather fitting that his final victory would come at the race he loved so much. Racing for Lotus, he beat a grid that included the likes of Jackie Stewart, Bruce McLaren, Jack Brabham to secure his 14th win and win another 6 races before his tragic death. But moving on to number 8, and that's Maurice Trintignant at the 58 Monaco Grand Prix at 40 years, 6 months and 18 days. Another racer to experience his last F1 reign at Monaco. The Frenchman had quite the relationship with the circuit as he debut on both of his 2 wins came there. But if there was one word to sum up his career, it'd be longevity, for the Frenchman actually took part in the very first season of F1, and the time he left, the likes of Hill, Brown and McLaren were defining the sport. His first ever race with Gordon Lee, but he would have to wait 3 years for his first ever French Grand Prix win at during the 1952 French Grand Prix. He moved to Ferrari in 54, securing the Prancing Horse first win in Monaco before racing for a total of 11 different constructors. His final victory for Rob Walker Racing Team came in 1958. Moving on into Nigel Mansell at the 1994 Australian Grand Prix at 41 years, 3 months and 5 days. He was the first and only World Championship driving for Williams in 1992, but the well-known story saw him dumped out of the sport a year later. Mansell sulked in the perfect manner by winning the Indy Car World Championship on his first attempt before being persuaded to return to Williams after the death of Ayrton Senna. Coulthard initially took over the seat, but Williams persuaded him to let Mansell back for the French Grand Prix in the final 3 races of the season, and it'll be his last ever win at the Australian Grand Prix. But moving on into number 6, and that's Sam Hanks at the Indy 500 at 42 years, 10 months and 17 days. It's a bit of an oddity for this list, like many American drivers in the 50s. He only ever competed in the Indy 500, but that was part of the championship. The American made his name across the country and first competed in Indy in 1946, just after World War II. In 56, he achieved second and appeared ready to call it a day, but he got an extra year. He was reportedly a distant relation of Abraham Lincoln, and he won the race, securing to be one of the oldest F1 drivers to do it. But move on then to number 5, and that's Jack Brabham at the 1970 South African Grand Prix at 43 years, 11 months and 5 days. Australian's finest export, began his racing career in 55, and until his death in 2014 at the age of 88, he was the last surviving Jacko from that driver. He won 3 of the World 5 titles in 59, defeating Tony Brooks and Sterling Moss before following that up with another title in 1960, but it'd be 6 years before he won his third, making second behind only Nicky Lauda in terms of time between titles, and did so only with his race team, making him the only man in history to win a championship car bearing his own name. Brabham would take his final victory in his last season in 1970 at Carl Army, before Brabham shouldered his share to the one Bernie Ecclestone. Number 4 is PIERO Trophy at the 52 Swiss Grand Prix at 45 years, 7 months and 6 days. Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Mercedes, Maserati. He drove for some of the team's F1's most iconic brands. His first team came at Monza in the inaugural 50 season, but his race would be over in 25 laps when his Alfa Romeo teammate Fangio's car broke down, and he was dropped for him to get in the car. His move to Ferrari in 51, securing debut P2, and followed up with his one and only win at the 52 Swiss Grand Prix. He would leave Ferrari midway through the 55 season to join Daimler ahead of the British Grand Prix, which completed just twice in 56, and both times ended in retirement. Number 3 is Fangio at the 57 German Grand Prix at 46 years, 1 month and 11 days. The most famous man on the list came third. He dominated F1 in the 50s, winning 5 World Championships, a figure only exceeded by Schumacher and Hamilton, and he came second in the inaugural season, but won his first title in 51. Having lost out in the 53, he won 4 in a row, second highest competitive numbers, only behind Schumacher. It was not just Fangio's success that impressed, but also his ability to do it in multiple teams with the likes of Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Mercedes, Maserati. He He also had the highest win percentage, winning 24 out of 52, and 57 became the oldest champion at the age of 46 years, likely never broken. In terms of his final win, that came to 57 German Grand Prix in a season that saw him finish no longer than second. He was 46 years old at the time, and Nürburgring would only complete sporadically in his 1958 season before retiring. Number 2 was Farina at the 53 German Grand Prix at 46 years, 9 months and 3 days. He may not be well known as Fangio, but he will be forever etched into F1 history as the first race winner, but also the first champion. He was 43 by the time he started driving in F1, and Alfa Romeo followed a long racing career after that. The victory at Silverstone was one of 3 on his way to the world title, and he left his rivals to finish P4 in the standings. At Ferrari, he started in the 52 season and secured P2s in 4 of the first 5 races. He remained at Ferrari at 53 season, which saw him secure his final victory at the German Grand Prix on his way to a 3rd place finish in the championship. And number 1, Luigi Fagioli at the 51 French Grand Prix, and by top of this list by quite some distance. He won it just 22 days after his 53rd birthday. To put that into context, that would be like David Coulthard winning a race in 2024 or Jenson Button winning one in a decade. Fagioli, who was born in the 1800s, spent his early years in the Grand Prix racing but was struck by a number of health problems that required him to walk in a cane. By the 1950s, his health had improved to such an extent he was able to participate in the first ever season of F1 for the powerhouse Alfa Romeo team at 52. He finished second in his first ever race behind Farina and finished 3rd in the overall standings. He would just win one race in the 51 French Grand Prix, but he was more disillusioned with the sport and when his team had ordered him to swap cars with Fangio, who was having issues, and he opted to retire from racing, but his legacy still remains. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thanks so much for watching. If you like, share, subscribe, and that's going to be for daily F1 news and subscribe to my channel. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.